here today. This is a section that we've become to call the interview, and I'm glad to have y'all come in and enjoy it with us. I didn't know what it would be like a couple of years ago, and this is the third time I did it. The first one was Roger Cook last year with John Prine, and now we've got the great Dickey Lee here. So how about a little round of applause? I just want to get started a little bit with just the basics, man. I know a little bit about where you are, but just tell us, just start with, I'm from Memphis, and give a little bit of background with that, if you will. You know, how many brothers, did you have brothers and sisters, and like that kind of thing? Really, just the very beginnings.
I have one sister. I'm from Memphis. I grew up in Whitehaven, a little suburb of Memphis, which was out in the country back when I was growing up there. And the way I got started, probably if any of you are familiar with Memphis, you remember a disc jockey called Dewey Phillips. And I just, when I was in high school, I went up to his radio show one night. He had a show called Red Hot and Blue, and everybody in Memphis all the kids were just crazy about him. And I went up there just hoping to see him. And when he was coming out after the show, I stopped him and had a couple of songs and asked him if he'd listen to them. And I figured he would then, but, I don't know why he did, but he listened to him and said, those are pretty good. He said, why don't you get a band together and come back? So probably much to his surprise, a few months later I did. I had some high school buddies, and we worked these songs up and came back and actually recorded them in WHBQ studios. And Dewey,
was that in the Chiska Hotel?
In the old Chiska, yeah.
Okay.
So where they're renovating it. I just saw where they're renovating it. But we did it, and he found a guy. He put it out on a little label. It's called Tampa Records. These two songs were called Dream Boy and Stay True Baby, which most people have never heard of. But it was kind of a Mid-South hit. And after that, Dewey got me on Sun Records. Had a couple of Sun Records, and they were kind of Mid-South hits too, but nothing great. And then that's where I met Jack Clement, who was an engineer at Sun, and he turned out to be my kind of lifelong mentor, producer. And later on after Sun, he got me on Smash Records, and that's where we had Patches, so my first national hit. Okay,
I want to get into that just a little bit, but first I want people to know about Dewey Phillips. There's a musical that came out in the last few years, a Broadway musical called Memphis. And it's based on Dewey Phillips' life. And so if you have a chance, it won every Tony Award you can get, including Best Musical, just, 3-4 years ago? Something like that.
Yeah, if that
and
long.
So that's who he's talking about, Dewey Phillips. And Dewey is also played the first guy to ever play Elvis Presley record in the world, because Sam Phillips, the guy who owns Sun Studios, knew him and took it over there to him to play that. And I just wanted them to know a little bit about that. About Dewey Phillips was not just a regular run-of-the-mill dude. He was a wild man, but he was the heavy hitter in Memphis at the time. And I can't believe
He should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He should be, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'll get there. I don't know why he isn't, because he played an important part of what's going on there. So tell me where Allen Reynolds came into your life.
Well, when Allen Reynolds, after I got out of high school, I was a senior when I went up there. It was really was the summer of my senior year, and I went to Union University my freshman year, and then I transferred to Memphis State. And I had little bands all through that time. We'd play sororities and fraternity dances from all the Mid-South and local colleges. And I met Allen. He was going to Southwestern, which is Rhodes today. And I was looking for some singers, and somebody said, "Hey, there's this guy over at Southwestern," and that's how we got together. And we've pretty much been together ever since. That started. We were sophomores in college, and put a band together. And in fact that was the group when we went up to record Dream Boy and Stay True Baby.
What did he play?
He didn't play any. He played guitar, but he didn't play in the band. He sang. He was my background singer. So.
Well, I want to tell them a little bit about Allen Reynolds. Is a great songwriter. Written. It's a 5 O'Clock World back in the '60s. That was a big, huge hit, and a lot of other really cool songs. But he went on to be a producer and produced "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue" for Crystal Gale and produced all her records, as a matter of fact. Isn't that right? Produced every record she did during her first run of all those big hits. And then I guess he had a little couple of soft spots or lulls, and then he produced every record that Garth Brooks did, and he did good with that. And I know that you and Alan were very early on in bands and doing music and all that stuff like that. So you mentioned that you met Jack Clement. Did you meet him at Sun Studios, or how did you meet Jack?
No, Jack was the engineer at Sun. When we went over there
to do your recordings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, Jack and I went to the same high school.
Truly.
He was 5 years ahead of me. He went to Whitehaven.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know he went to Whitehaven. Okay, I didn't know you did either, so that's good to me. Whitehaven is where Graceland is, and at the time, Graceland was one of the only few houses out there. I mean, it wasn't very. It was a distant. You had a pretty good run to get to Whitehaven. Now it's just part of Memphis, like they all do. So you recorded at Sun. Jack was the engineer, or was Sam the producer?
No, Jack was kind of the engineer / producer.
Okay. And was he doing Johnny Cash yet, or had he done Johnny Cash?
Yeah, he was doing Jerry Lee.
Jerry Lee Lewis, he produced
Elvis. When we got there, Elvis had just gone to RCA, but the rest of them were still there.
So that was 1957? Or
1957.
Okay. That must have been pretty cool.
It was. It really was. There were a lot of neat guys around there.
So Jack Clement, okay, he produced and engineered your record.
Uh-huh.
Did Alan play on that?
Alan sang on it.
Alan sang on it. I'm sorry, okay. Yeah. I just can't get over the fact that he was just a singer, but that's cool.
You know what was really funny back then on Sun? They had all these artists. Well, a lot of them, they would play on everybody else's record, like Charlie Rich, played piano on some of my stuff. And again, Roland James played bass, Roland.
Yeah,
and,
See, I thought he just played guitar. I didn't know he did bass too.
Yeah, he did bass too. In fact, he played in my band for a little while. He played bass in my band.
He played the guitar on Great Balls of Fire and A Whole Lot of Shaking and all that stuff like that. Okay, this is very historic records. If you're from Memphis or anybody, dig that kind of music. So this is great for me, man. I'm learning stuff here. But I've got to know how, at some point, everybody moved to Beaumont, Texas?
Well, Alan and I got to really be buddies with Jack. And Jack, after the Sun thing was gone, Jack moved to Beaumont, and he got Alan and me. He kind of took us on, and he got us to move down there, which we said we would never do. But he said he was Moses in another life, so he moves people around everywhere.
What was the attraction to Beaumont over Memphis? I mean, I'm still
well.
He
met another guy who happened to manage Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper at the time, Bill Hall, who later became my manager and my publisher, and they met up somewhere and decided to build a studio in Beaumont. So they built a studio in Beaumont, and that's where Bill Hall lived.
Okay,
so that's why it happened to be Beaumont.
And he had the Big Bopper.
Yeah.
Wow. I always thought that cat Norman Petty did Buddy Holly. So how did Buddy Holly wind up?
Well, Bill managed him for a short while.
Okay. He was the manager.
But he didn't produce him.
Okay.
Petty produced his records. Yeah. Norman Petty.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that was in Clovis, New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
All of these are music hotspots, There's New York, Nashville,
Clovis,
Beaumont, and Clovis. It's a different world back then. So, okay, Jack moves down to be with Bill Hall. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Bill Hall. And he just called Alan or called you, or how did he get y'all down there?
He called both of us. We were always pretty much together. And he said, I want you guys to come down to Beaumont. And, and this is really funny. Like we were just, during all this time, a few years had gone by, and we were just getting out of college. And we were going to go down there and do music, but we were going to teach too. We were going to get a job teaching.
Oh, wow.
And we both we applied, and I got a job coaching in junior high school, and Alan got a job teaching English down there. And in the meantime, we recorded Patches.
Now, how did they send that? How did y'all get Patches?
Here's another thing. Jack's it's hard to keep up with Jack. Even though he was down there, he was he was working part-time for Chet Atkins at RCA, and he was screening songs for Chet. And this song came in, it was a New York song, and Patches.
Who was the writer of it?
Barry Mann and Larry Colber.
Barry Mann. Went on to work with Cynthia Wells?
Yeah, they were married.
Okay, wrote all kinds of hit records.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, Jack heard it, and he said, I kind of like this. He never played it for Chet. He kept it and played it for me.
So Chet missed that one, huh?
Yeah, Chet missed that one. Thank goodness.
You know what? I wish we could do an interview at some point with this cat, Jack Clement, who is just what did he say, was Moses in another lifetime?
Yeah, that's who he claimed to be.
Well, just a little bit about Jack. He taught dance at Arthur Murray Studio. He was in the Marine Corps. Written all these wonderful, great songs, and was the producer engineer at Sun Studios, and worked with these guys. He's an amazing guy. Just to give y'all some background of this, but please go ahead.
And will be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame this fall.
Awesome. There you go. So Jack is more or less the mentor. He's screening songs for Chet Atkins, which he keeps one for himself. Decides to cut you on it because you were the star. You just had the best voice?
Well, I was nothing then. Actually, I think he was thinking of Alan first.
Oh, okay.
And Alan didn't like the song. So then he said, then he played it for me. And I loved the song.
Oh, yeah. Well, would you do it for us now?
Sure.
Because last night we got him to do his own songs. And I thought it'd be a real treat to get, because he's an artist, not just a songwriter, and he had a big hit. What year was it that this really hit?
61, 62.
Yeah, 61, 62. That's what I was thinking. Because I was just a little kid. But Patches was everybody loved this song. This was a big hit record. I don't care about the numbers, but to me it had to be #1 because any record I thought was big and they played it all the time was #1 to me. So there you go. It might have been 10 or whatever it was, but it was a great record.
Okay, I'll try to do a little of it here. Down by the river that flows by the coal yards stand wooden houses with shutters torn down. There lives a girl everybody calls Patches. Patches, my darling, of old shanty town. We planned to marry when June brought the summer. I couldn't wait to make Patches my bride. Now I don't see how it ever can happen. My folks say no, and my heart breaks inside. Patches, oh, what can I do? I swear I'll always love you, but a girl from that place will just bring me disgrace. So my folks won't let me love you. Each night I cry as I think of that shanty and pretty Patches there watching the door. She doesn't know that I can't come to see her. Patches must think I don't love her no more. I hear a neighbor telling my father, he says a girl named Patches was found floating face down in that dirty old river that flows by the coal yards in old shanty town. Patches, oh, what can I do? may not be right, but I'll join you tonight. Patches, I'm coming to you. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Kind of using my Rod Stewart voice today. Got a little sore throat.
As they say, they bring a tear to a glass eye. So, okay, you found Patches and recorded it in Beaumont, and the label was Smash, and was that tied in with Mercury Records at the time?
Yeah, it was a subsidiary of Mercury. And I'd never heard of Smash Records. I thought, they said, we've got you a deal on Smash. I said, Smash? I said, what is that? You know, it turned out to be one of the hottest labels in the country at the time.
So did Jack Clement or Allen Reynolds have the ties to take that to Nashville? Was it out of Nashville or how?
No, it was.
Was it Bill Hall or somebody?
It was. I got a mental block. Who was Shelby Singleton?
Oh,
he was working with them, and they played it for Shelby.
Who is they though? Who played it for Shelby?
Jack and Bill.
They went up to Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they played it for Shelby, and he liked it. He played it for Charlie Fash, who was the president of Smash Records in Chicago, and they liked it, and so they leased the master to him, and they put it out.
There you go. And the rest they say is, as Richard Lee says, sit back and enjoy the applause. Okay, so when Patches is a hit, are you still teaching or are you
Well,
touring?
we never taught because the record hit before school started.
Oh.
So I quit before I was really hired.
Okay, so well, take us along here. What was it? Did you go touring off that?
Well, yeah, and I started touring, and Alan didn't teach either because he just started doing stuff. He actually ran a bar down in the hotel. We stayed in a hotel, the famous King Edward Hotel in Nashville. I think they've torn it down now, but
in Nashville or Beaumont?
in Beaumont.
In
I'm
Beaumont.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that bar.
Oh golly, we could write a book, but it was a lot of fun. But I was touring a lot then. Just started right off.
Did you take a band or did you use the players that were local
I
players?
just used the players. Born. It was scary too.
Like union guys or something?
They would just have different bands. You'd go around, they'd have a band for you because I didn't have a band when we first started.
Was it like Dick Clark shows or was it?
It was those type things, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we'd play. We'd play venues. We'd play theaters. We'd play civic centers. We'd play everywhere. And then
A lot of different artists on the bill?
Yeah, usually. The first show I ever played was Tommy Rowe and Bobby Vinton in Tallahassee, Florida.
So did you meet Dion in the Belmonts and all those early stars like
I
that?
met all of them.
All those?
And what's funny, today I'm doing a lot of those rock and roll nostalgia shows and playing with some of those same guys, and it's a lot more fun. Nobody has an ego anymore.
Yeah.
I remember I did a show, a few years back. It was called the Rock and Roll Army. It was one of those nostalgia rock and roll shows. There were about 8 of us, and Mitch Ryder was on there, and he would tell the audience, he said, I remember we did this back in the 60s, and he said all the girls would throw their panties and motel keys up on stage, and he said, now they bring us pies and cakes.
Well, what's the difference? Oh, that's great, man. So, when did Elvis come into the picture? Did you know him from Memphis?
Well, yeah, I knew Elvis when I first recorded. In fact, Dewey took me out to Elvis's house one night. Right after.
To Graceland or the one in
out to Graceland.
Out to Graceland.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and he was really great. And we got to be friends, and I'd go to movies with him, and stuff like that.
Is that when he would rent the whole theater out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember we'd go. He rented the Memphian a lot. You remember the old Memphian
sure,
theater?
Yeah.
And I would take dates out there, and they wanted to go out there with me, but they never wanted to leave with me.
All right. Well, sorry, Dickey.
But he was great. He was really great to me.
That's really cool. So I want to know, were you touring out of Beaumont, or did you move to Nashville, or when the record hit?
No, I was actually touring out of Beaumont.
Out of Beaumont. So was it in Beaumont that you wrote "She Thinks I Still Care"?
Yeah, it was. No, you know what? I just moved back to Memphis. I was in Beaumont for about 2 years, and then Al and I moved back to Memphis. And Jack moved. He went on to Nashville, and he started working with Chet again and doing stuff with RCA.
Did Alan go on the road with you when you
No,
had Patches? What did he do during that time?
He ran bar.
Oh, he ran a bar. Okay, so he was running a bar, and just being young.
Yeah, and writing songs.
Writing songs,
yeah.
and like you do. Okay. So after a couple of years, you decided it would be better in Memphis, or?
Yeah, we just decided to go back, and you know, I was still recording, and it was easier working out of Memphis than it was out of Beaumont. You know, you had to take about 10 flights just to get out of Beaumont to a major city.
Okay.
But it was hard. I remember when I was touring up there. I remember in the wintertime, the first year, I remember I was doing a show in like I think it was Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and got caught in a blizzard up there. And they shut the whole motel down. I was the only person in it. They didn't even have a switchboard or anything. And I ventured out one night, and I walked down. I remember seeing a phone booth. You know, that's back when they had phone booths.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Back about halfway down this block, and I go out my hotel room, and it's right on this kind of major street, and man, the wind is blowing like crazy. So I'm walking down the sidewalk with my back against the building so I won't get lost. And I called Boba, and I'm homesick. You know, it's awful. And I got Bill on the phone, and he said, "What's going on up there, pal?" I said, "Bill," I said, "I'm freezing." I said, "It's tough up here." He said, "Well, gee whiz," he said, "that's too bad." He said, "We're having a luau down here." He said, "Well, stay cool. I'll talk to you later." Click.
Was that when you decided that you might need another manager? Okay, so all right, but you wound up in Memphis again. Did you record any more tunes for Smash, or you say?
Yeah, I recorded. I had a bunch of. I was with Smash for about 3 years.
Okay. But She Thinks I Still Care was the next significant success, I'm imagining. Is that right?
As a songwriter, yeah, it was pretty much about the time Patches. It was just a little bit after Patches, you know.
Okay. And was George Jones on Smash?
No, George. He was on United Artists.
United Artists. Oh, okay. So how?
I wrote the song. Jack was my publisher.
Right.
Bill was my manager. Jack was my publisher.
It was named Hall Clement. Was that?
Yeah. Well, that was a company they had together who I wrote later for. They just kind of threw me around to different companies. You know, nothing ever really changed except the names of the companies. But
okay. But Jack was the publisher, so he took the song to George Jones, his producer or somebody.
Yeah, he took it to George and played it for me. George really liked it.
Okay.
So he did it.
And they recorded that in Nashville?
Yeah.
Because isn't George from Beaumont?
George is from Vidor. It's right. It's a suburb of Beaumont.
Okay. So did y'all know each other from there? Or
no, I'd never met him. I knew
him.
Who he was, but I never met him until after the song had come out, actually.
Okay. So he's on what record label did you say?
He's on United Artists.
United Artists. And Jack gets the song to him, and they record it. And then did that thing just pop right out on the charts, or did it just streaked up there?
His song, it really did. It just took off.
And that was his first #1 record.
You know, I don't know. I don't know if I know he had some hits. I don't know if it was his first #1 or not.
I think I've read that it was his first #1 because he just passed recently, and they had a lot of little biographies out. And if those things are true, I believe that's right.
I know. And it was out in '63. In '63, it was the country song of the year.
That's pretty good.
I'm very thankful to George.
Yeah. And that song, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it went on to do lots more covers. Do you have any idea how many times that song has been covered?
I don't know officially, but I know in 1975, our Canadian publishing representative checked it out, and he said there had officially been, in 1975, there had been over 500 recordings of the song.
Wow. So that's pretty good.
I've even pitched it to people. They said, "We've already done that song."
Oh, that's great. So when that happened, did you move to Nashville?
Yeah, moved up there. Yeah, we went back to Memphis. I was in Memphis about a year or so. So Jack And Alan and I were, you know, we both moved back to Memphis. You know, we were very happy, and we had a little hip pocket company we were running ourselves then, and we were working down at Sun Records. We were working at Phillips Recording, and Jack called us. And
was he already in Nashville?
Yeah, he was in Nashville.
Okay.
He said, "I want you guys to move to Nashville." He said, "He's not going to do this to us again," you know. About a month later, we were telling our wives to pack up. We were going to Nashville, so we ended up in Nashville and been there ever since.
Ever since, and that was 63 years.
That was about, let's see, it was 60, 64. It was about 66 or 67.
Okay, the Beatles had already come out and made their big
Yeah.
deal, and pop music had changed forever and all that stuff, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay. And I wished I'd have brought the list of songs. I meant to do that. Well, I actually didn't mean to do that. I just thought it would just come up naturally in the conversation. But when you were writing up there, and at this time, when you moved to Nashville, were you still being an artist, or were you just primarily being a writer?
I was going up there I was wanting to be an artist writer. Alan wanted to be a writer, and so you know, he ended up recording. He ended up producing Garth Brooks. I ended up going on the road all the time, you know. So, but it worked out really well for both of us. And when I got up there, we cut some stuff in Jack's studio.
Was that Jack's Tracks?
No, it was before Jack's Tracks. It was the, you know, where Garth funded studio out on
Yes.
out on Belmont.
Yeah.
And
what's the name of that thing?
it was Sound Emporium.
Sound
now, I think,
Emporium,
but,
yes, that's-
I forget what it was when Jack had it, but it was a great studio.
Yeah.
And we actually recorded some stuff, and we leased that to RCA. RCA signed me as a result of some of the stuff we recorded at Jack's studio. And,
So-
and they signed me as a rock and roll artist. And the first song we put out one song, which I think was a really good song. It didn't do very much. It was a song called Charlie, My Whole World. And of course, I'd always been in the country. I love country. And I went to see Chet one day, and I said, "Is there any chance you guys might let me try to do some country stuff?" And he said, "Have at it." You know.
Chet Atkins?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did, and I started my first. I recorded one song. It was kind of a chart record, not way down in the charts, and my next one was a #1, Never Ending Song of Love. It's
Never
my
Ending
first
Song.
#1 country song.
And that was written by Delaney
Delaney
Bramlett?
Bramlett, yeah.
That's cool. You know, he didn't have a lot of other big records like that himself
No.
as a writer, did he?
And what's really funny, they had that in an album, and that song was in an album. And a girl that I knew she worked at Billboard. Her name was Marie Ratliff, and we'd have lunch every once in a while, and she'd keep me up with what's going on. She said, "There's a song you ought to record. It'd be great for you." I said, "What?" And she got me a copy of it. I played it, and I really liked it. And
I've forgotten who the original artist was on that, because who had a hit in the 70s or 80s with that?
well, it was Delaney Bramlett.
Delaney had
Yeah,
it?
he was that was the only record on it until I did it.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And theirs was a pop. It was a pop
Yeah,
record.
but I thought someone did that in the.
Now, someone may have done it since.
What year did you said that was your #1 record for
Yeah,
RCA?
I'll tell you there was a guy did it on country, about the same time I did. His name was Mafe Nutter.
Oh.
But nothing happened with his record.
I don't remember Nafe. Sorry, Nafe. Nutter.
Sorry, Mafe.
Mafe Nutter, yeah. I'll probably never forget that name, and that's unusual for me because I forget everybody else's name. Well, I'm just trying to keep the years a little bit straight here. So you moved
I'm trying to do that too.
Okay, 66 or 67, you didn't immediately start for recording for RCA, or did you?
No, my first record for RCA was 1970. That's when my first record came out.
And one of the first ones of those was Never Ending Song of
Yeah,
Love.
and it hit in 71.
71,
Uh-huh.
okay. Well, I would call that the original version. I don't know who had it before, because I always remembered that song. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it was you.
Yeah.
There's a couple of times you fooled me on the radio, and we'll get to that in just a minute, because anyway, so I want to go along. You stayed with RCA a long time then.
10 years
Okay.
I recorded for RCA.
71 to 81.
70, I actually started in 70 to 80.
70 to 80, okay.
And I'll tell you something this is kind of neat because it has to do with that. There's an outfit website called Real Gone Music, www.realgonemusic.com. Well, they've just taken taken all my hit songs on RCA from 71 to 80, and they have remastered them, and they're re-releasing it in a new package.
When will that be out?
It'll be out June the 6th.
June the 6th, just around the corner, folks.
And the way you get, if you want to check it out, if you can remember that, it's just www.realgonemusic.com, because they're talking about music that's real gone. You can't get it anymore. That's where they came up with that name.
I thought it was the old hipster slogan.
Yeah, no.
That cat's real gone.
It's real gone.
That music is real gone, but it'll never be really gone because it'll always be out there. Well, you were living in Memphis, living in Nashville. You have that hit record. What was it? Well, you were back to touring, right?
Yeah.
But were you honing in on songwriting?
Keith, I've been touring ever since that started. I haven't stopped touring yet.
Okay, good. You and Bob Dylan, just play.
I've gone from the phase to, hey, I've got all your records. Hey, my mother's got all your records. Hey, my grandmother's got all your records.
Well, somebody's got them. That's good, you know. What were some, like, other with RCA all the way to 1980? What were some more of the records that you did? Did you write any of your own hits back then?
Not very many. I was too smart to write my own songs. I tried to get other people to do them.
Okay.
Well, the song after Patches, my follow-up to Patches, was I Saw Linda Yesterday. Now, that wasn't on RCA, though, but Alan and I wrote that song.
Alan wrote that with you? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a big hit.
Yeah.
I mean, people remember that when they hear it. Some people say, I don't remember that, and then you play it for them and go, oh, well, I remember that.
Yeah,
sure.
it was a top 5 pop record.
There you go. I Saw Linda.
But that's one thing that's kind of neat about this Real Gone deal. It's they did a really great job on the package, and it's just like, in essence, it's a Dickey Lee greatest RCA records hits. You know, it's got all my hits in it.
Did they gather up the stuff from Smash, or could they get Patches on
No,
there?
it's all RCA product.
All RCA, okay.
Yeah,
well, then you'll look forward to the Smash Records one too, I guess.
Well, I hope so.
There you go.
Keep me going.
And what were some of the other, besides that one, did you do other covers that became hits?
Let's see. I did a couple that turned out to be covers in a way. I didn't look at it that way. I had a big record called Rocky on RCA, which was, now this was funny. It was a #1 record for me.
Wow.
And a guy named Austin Roberts had recorded the song before we did. And what was that? What label was he on, Buzz? Buzz probably left the building. I don't know. Oh, he's thinking. But anyway, he recorded it and they put it out and nothing happened with it. And then they sent us a song, and we were completely unaware of his record. And Reggie Young, you know, Reggie was a guitar player. He was on my session. He said, this song, he said, I've played on this song before. We said, what are you talking about? He said, somebody else did it, you know, and it turned out that Austin had done it. Well, what's really funny, we recorded it, and they released the record, and it just shot up the country charts. And when Austin's label saw that, they re-released his record and jumped back on it again. And, you know, then his record started taking off pop.
Wow.
So,
well, play us a little bit of that. Do you
a
remember
little bit of that one?
Yeah, just a chorus or something, just because I can't remember what that sounds like.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
That might have been during my drug years.
Let's see. Alone until my 18th year, we met 4 springs ago. She was shy and had a fear of things she did not know. But we got it on together in such a super way. We held each other close at night and traded dreams each day. She said, Rocky, I've never been in love before. Don't know if I can do it. But if you let me lean on you, take my hand, I might get through it. I said, baby, oh sweet baby, it's love that sets us free. And God knows if the world should end, your love is safe with me.
Yeah, man. Well, that's neat. Well, when did all these songs When did 9 Million come out? When was that?
It was in the middle 70s.
In the middle of the 70s?
Yeah, that was my hottest time, the middle 70s, I think.
Okay, because it seems like I remember hearing that song down in my little studio. I had a radio in my studio that was just this little bitty transistor thing. It had one of those speakers. It just sounded like, after being in the studio all day, sometimes it's cool just to hear something that just sounds like crap. You know, and you go back into your studio and go, boy, this sounds fantastic. But I remember hearing that, or maybe it was just when I was down there working before I built this studio. It was I called it the shop. Part of it was a stage, a rehearsal stage, that's 16 feet by 32 feet, and we'd stage our shows there when I was touring a lot. And the other half, I had a couple of old cars. I had a 50 Nash and a 50 Studebaker, and I'd work on those in the other half. So it was the shop. We fixed music and cars. But I remember hearing this song, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I thought, who is that? Who is that? And I'd hear it every day. And, of course, they'd announce whatever contest they had. They'd say everything but who's the artist, you know. That went on for days and days and days. It seemed like finally one day they said, and Dickey Lee's going to be doing his new hit record, and they played that song. And I went, well, damn, Dickey Lee, you know, sure. So play us a little bit of that, if you will.
Okay.
Because I love this record. And it's out again. There's a young band doing a really fresh-sounding arrangement of this song right now that's really, really cool. I don't know who they are either.
Well, there are about 18 guitars on the record.
Okay.
Got 9,999,999 tears to go, and then I don't know if I'll be over you. Sun didn't shine this morning. It's been raining the whole day through. Something, and I put the words, you found somebody new. That's when the first tear came, falling from my eyes. I'm beginning to feel the pain, seeing nothing but cloudy skies. Got 9,999,999 tears to go, and then I don't know if I'll be over you. When I'll be over you.
That thing stuck in my head, it would not go away. And I loved it. I just couldn't find out who it was for.
It's a horrible song to wake up to.
Who wrote that?
Razzie Bailey.
Oh, Razzie Bailey. Now, he was an artist as well, too. He's kind of like you. He wrote hits and did hits. So
yeah.
That's kind of great. I always like it when people do that. You know, Hank Williams did not write his first record, first hit record. And James Taylor had hits on just a very small amount of the stuff he wrote. He did other things. I think it's great when artists are artist enough to go, I want to do this song because I think it's going to be a hit, or I enjoy it. And if I enjoy it, there's got to be a lot of other people who enjoy it, regardless of the fact if they have written it or not. I really always enjoyed that. And still
you remember how back in the 60s and all, like if somebody had a hit, everybody would record that song and put it in an album.
Yeah, they would. And that was all the way up until maybe the 70s or something.
Well, yeah,
people did that. And I was kind of sad to see that go in one respect, because it was always fun to hear Dean Martin doing some pop song that, you know, that you wouldn't expect him to do, but he did it because he liked it, and that was that. And everybody did that. Shoot, yeah. So you wrote a lot of really contemporary sounding hit country songs somewhere down the line, you know, like Keeper of the Stars. Is that the right title? Did I have that right?
Yeah, Keeper of the Stars.
And what are some other those?
Let's see. Let's Fall to Pieces Together, George Strait.
Yeah. Did you sing that last night?
No.
Okay, and you didn't sing Keeper of the Stars last night, did you?
No.
Okay, well, what's some more of them? Hush, y'all. Let me do this. I'm having fun.
You're the first time I've thought about leaving, Reba McEntire.
Oh, yeah.
I've been around enough to know John Snyder.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll Be Leaving Alone, Charlie Pride.
Okay. Yeah. Well, man, you got to do a couple of those. I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but I know I should be asking you about what your favorite color is and your favorite band, but I'd rather hear these
I told
songs.
you my favorite color.
What?
Chrome.
Are you sure that's a color? So, especially want to hear, name off those again. I'll tell you.
Let's fall to pieces.
Do that one. Let's fall to pieces together. If that's not a country song, I'll eat my hat. And I won't eat my hat hardly at all.
I apologize for my scratchy voice. Actually, it sounds better than my regular voice. Pardon me, you left your tears on the jukebox. I'm afraid they got mixed up with mine. I don't mean to pry, it's just that I noticed you going out of your mind. Looks like we're two of a kind. Let's fall to pieces together. Why should we both fall apart? Let's fall to pieces together, right here in each other's arms. Let's fall to pieces together, right here in each other's arms.
Yeah. Thank you, Dickey Lee. I want to get you to play at least one more in just a minute or two, but I want to know, after you left RCA, was that when you started writing all those songs, like Keeper of the Stars and stuff like that, when you weren't?
Yeah, well, I wrote all those in the 80s. Most of the songs I've been singing, they were all written in the 80s.
All in the 80s,
yeah.
Okay. That's so cool, man, because that's a massive bunch of stuff.
Now, that's 30. You know what's scary? That's 30 years ago.
I know. I know, dang it. If I went out with a girl who was 30, I'd only be 34 years older than her. That sounds so funny, because when you're 20, you think about a girl who's 30. It's just completely different, you know.
Yeah, I got to tell you this story. I remember it was one of the first golf tournaments I ever played. In fact, I was on RCA, and I was 26 years old, and we actually went down to Huntsville, Alabama. They actually flew us down there, and from Nashville. And they had all these CEOs down there that their wives were kind of the hostesses for all the celebrities and everybody coming in. And I remember telling my friends when I got back, I said, guys, you wouldn't believe my hostess. I said, she was beautiful. And I said, it's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I said, she was 46 years old.
And you were 26?
And here I'm 26, and 46 is like, you know, an old woman, you know.
I'm with you, buddy. I always like those too.
But things change as you get a little older.
Well, you were writing for Polygram Music?
Yeah, it was. Well, Polygram, I wrote basically my whole time as a writer. I've written for the same company almost, but they keep changing letterheads on me. Like Jack Music, then to Hall Clement, same guys. Then Hall Clement sold out to Welk Music. Then Welk Music sold out to Polygram Music. Then Polygram Music sold out to Universal Music. But I was still writing for the same company. They just changed names on me.
So your mechanical's coming from Universal Music now?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there you go. So it goes around and around and around. A friend of mine, Fred Knobloch, you know Fred?
I know Fred well.
He said, this is about 20 years ago, he says, Keith, someday you're going to call Nashville and there's going to be one girl who answers, she's going to say, records or publishing? And that's it, you know. And I don't know how he saw that deep into the future, but that's just about what it is today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just one record. They're all related, the interrelated record companies of the world, music world. Is there 2 or 3 record labels now?
Is it what?
Is there 2 or 3 major labels now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe probably 2. I don't know.
Yeah, because they just, whatever. So after your, do you still write for Universal?
I write for myself now.
You write for, how long, when did you leave those companies and start your own company?
Oh, I've probably been doing it for 10 years or so, something like that. I just write them and put them on the shelf.
I liked one. We wrote one a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago that I liked.
Yeah, we did.
I want to try to remember that one tonight if I possibly can. If you don't do them often, it's just like anything else. Use it or lose it.
I can't think of a lot of mine, which is probably good. We need to write one about every year at least.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Well, have we covered everything that I should cover in these kind of things? I don't want to make them be too overlong, and I don't want to make them so short that nobody gets up. So here's what I'd like to do. Would anyone out there like to ask Dickey a question? And bear in mind, we can't see y'all because of the spotlight, so you'll just have to sing out, stand up, and ask the question if you'd like to.
Do you have a favorite song you've ever written?
A favorite song that I've written? Probably my sentimental favorite is "She Thinks I Still Care," because that's the most successful one I've had, and it's paid a lot of bills.
What made you start writing to begin with?
Oh boy! Well, this is kind of funny. When I was in junior high school, there was a guy. My high school, Whitehaven, went from the 1st to the 12th grade, so I was in about the 7th grade, and there was a guy in my high school, and he was kind of Mr. Everything. He was good looking. He was a great athlete, and he would on Friday assemblies sometimes he would play a guitar. He would play his guitar and sing songs. And I thought, and the girls just loved it. I thought, golly, and I thought. So he got me into football and playing the guitar, and that's where I guess that's where it kind of started. And some of those first songs I wrote, only my mother would like them.
When did you begin to play the guitar? How old were you?
I was probably about the 8th grade. Right?
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow. That's good. I didn't start playing until I was 17, so I had nothing to do with music in high school, and I always wish I did. But this is not about me. This is about you. So come on, you guys. Surely you have another thing or two you'd like to ask Dickey Lee.
What's the first memory of music that you have?
What's the first what?
Memory of music.
First memory of music.
My first memory of music.
Yeah. When did you become aware?
Me and music, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, golly. Probably when really a big memory. I remember I bought when I was in about the 9th grade, I bought an electric Gretsch guitar, and I started, I had a real bad guitar before then. I bought my first guitar. I was about 7th grade, I guess. I bought it at a pawn shop. It cost me $8, and I took it home and had a big rip on the back of it. I never even looked at the back side of it, but and I'm left-handed, and I played. They didn't even have left-handed guitarists back then that I knew of. So and some guys, they're right-handed guys that play, or left-handed guys that most of them back then, if they're left-handed, they'd play guitar right-handed or play it upside down, But for some reason, I just changed the strings. I moved the top string to the bottom and just interchanged it where I was playing left-handed, and that's how I got started. And then I remember I bought this Gretsch guitar. This was my first real left-handed guitar, and that's probably what I really, really think back to when things kind of first started happening for me.
Yeah.
Not monetarily, just happening musically.
Did you and Allen Reynolds know each other before you began to play guitar?
I never heard of Allen until a guy recommended him when
Okay.
I was trying to find somebody to be in my band.
Was he in the same high school?
No, he went to Central.
Central, okay.
And I went to Whitehaven, and then
Let's hear it for Central. What were your early influences song-wise? Was it more pop or more country? Was it just did you have any favorites?
Memphis was just a big melting pot.
It was.
You couldn't hear just one thing there, And I'll tell you what was really funny is one of the first groups that I really liked, and I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of them. It was a group called the Hilltoppers. and they were out. They went to Western Kentucky. They went to school there, and they had a bunch of hits.
Is that in Elizabethtown?
No, it's in Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know, that kind of got me. Just really into music. I don't know why, but I remember when.
Were they a folk group or was it?
No, they were a pop. They were
Pop,
strictly
okay.
pop. They had songs like "Till Then." Oh gosh, they had a million hits.
Okay.
They were really big. But I remember Sam Phillips told me later. And you know, when Dewey Phillips got me on Sun, Sam Phillips really didn't want me. He would never have taken me because I wasn't his type of artist. And I remember him telling me later. He said, you know, you were one of those damn Philadelphia teenage idol types, you know. And he was kind of Southern rock, you know. And,
I can hear him say that.
but he told me, he said you never discovered yourself until you left Sun, you know, and went on.
Wow.
But that was kind of a compliment coming from him.
Well, sure was. There's a lot of people. Roy Orbison did the same thing. A lot of people didn't make it. Aretha Franklin recorded for Columbia and never did make it till she got to Atlantic. So it's just some sort of magic that happens.
Yeah.
So and did you learn the Hilltoppers songs when you got your guitar?
Yeah,
Was that the first thing you wanted to play?
I would sing them. I never learned them. I just kind of sang them, you know.
Okay. Well, that's really neat, starting with bands and all that kind of stuff. Anybody got any more questions?
Do you write the lyrics and the music together, or do you do the lyrics first?
You know what?
Do you like the music and the lyrics together, or do them separately, or how do you?
Do I write? I write them together. I've never written just a melody, or never written just a lyric. It all just comes to just at the same time. And usually, you know, I like to be by myself because I just start. What I'll do usually, my motif is I like to find a title to start with. I've started writing songs with cool lines sometimes, and I'll just write myself into a corner. But if I have a title, it helps me to get started. And then I'll just start kind of banging away on my guitar until something sounds halfway decent or something I kind of like. I never know what it's going to be.
When you wrote "She Thinks I Still Care," did you just start playing those chords and that was the words that popped out of your mouth, or just you had that title first? How did you do that?
Yeah, I got the title. Somebody had a song called "She Thinks I Care."
Okay.
And I thought she thinks I got "She Thinks I Still Care" out of that, you know, and I just started singing it around, and you know, it's a pretty simple song, you know, pretty simple melody and pretty simple lyric, but.
Well, there's something about those simple lyrics and melodies that seem to get to people in a large way. So if y'all don't, is there any more questions? Please.
Did you ever write a song and it just sat for a long time before it ever did anything?
What do you say? I'm having a hard time.
That's okay. Have you ever written a song that just sat a long time before it before it got recorded or before it ever did anything? Just something that sat a really long time.
I'll give you, this is as close as I can think of, like, I wrote a song called, Bob McDill and I wrote a song called, You're the First, I've Been Around Enough to Know, which John Snyder had. Any of you remember that record? Remember John Snyder?
Play a little bit of that.
He was Luke on the Dukes of Hazzard. Remember that old show? And, but we wrote this song, and, a guy named Joel Sanye recorded it on Mercury, and it was a knockout record, and nothing ever happened with it. It just you know, I don't know what, but I loved it. It's one of my most favorite country records that anybody's ever written, that I've had anything to do with, anybody's ever sung that I've had anything to do with. But you know, nothing happened with it, and we pitched that song around, couldn't get anybody into it, and one day John Snyder, he came into our office. He was looking for stuff, and he'd had some pop hits. He had something like that, Now or Never. You know, he had a few mediocre pop records, and he wanted to sing country, and so he was hot on that show at the time, and he came in and they played some stuff for him. They played a bunch of stuff for him. He didn't hear anything. And he finally said, play me something that you would never play me. You know, something that you would think I would never want to hear. So they played this song, and he loved it, you know, and he said, I like that, you know. So make a long story short, he recorded it, and they put it out on Warner Brothers, and when they put it out, instead of having his name on the label, the promotion copies they sent to disc jockeys, they just had a question mark, which made it kind of mysterious. And their reason for doing that was, like, country music didn't like some of these pop artists. That their careers started slowing down, so they all thought, well, I'll go country now, you know. So they just put the song out there with no name on it, and it just took off, you know. And then they stuck his name on there, and it was song was in the charts for 28 weeks. It was the #1 record. And that song, what I didn't tell you, that song later around from the time that Joel Saunier first did it until John Snyder did it was 8 years.
Wow. Play us a version, of course, or something of that.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Hush, don't talk now. It won't change anything anyhow. Just hold me while the shadows bring us near. I know you're not in love with me. I'm not asking you to be. And there's no use pretending while we're here. You don't need to try and fool me. You don't need to lead me on. You don't need to say you love me. I've been around enough to know. You don't need to say you love me. I've been around enough to know. You know, talking about the length of a song, like, you know, a song just lays around forever. Well, this just happened. Song Allen and I wrote called Memphis Beat. We wrote it, I think, about 1962. Well, a little over 2 years ago, there was a TV show that came out called Memphis Beat. I didn't pay any attention to it, and it was a cop show.
It was out of New Orleans, but
they filmed it in New Orleans, you know. But anyway, you know, it was around for a couple of years, but I started getting BMI money, and I thought, man, where's this money coming from, you know? And it was on Memphis Beat, and I thought, well, who's playing the song or whatever? And they finally told us about the TV show, and the funny thing about it, we never even know how they got the song, other than they dug it up out of the archives, and maybe, you know, it had the same title as the TV show, and maybe they just tried to check songs with that title, but it fit it perfectly, you know.
Right. Well, that's cool.
But that's kind of neat, you know.
I got a question for you. Do you think that could happen to me sometime?
Well, I don't know. Did you write some songs back in '62?
No.
Well, altogether, how many songs do you think you've written?
Huh?
How many songs do you think you've written all total?
How many have I written?
Yeah.
Oh, probably, you know, maybe 1,000. Probably not as many as a lot of people think. You know, because I'll hang on to one song for a long time, you know, and then rewrite it. But if I guessed, I'd say maybe close to 1,000.
It's a bunch of tunes.
Was there a particular inspiration behind Keeper of the Stars?
No, it's just kind of my philosophy on life. In fact, a friend gave me that title. He said, I got this title, Keeper of the Stars. And when he was telling me about it, I just said, it was no accident, me finding you. You know, it just went from there. But I'm a Christian, and I believe there aren't any accidents. So that's how that one got going.
You didn't play that last night, did you?
Uh-uh.
You want to play it a little bit for us now?
Yeah, if I
That
could,
would be
I'll try to
awesome,
play a little
man.
bit of it for you.
Was this Song of the Year too?
Hmm?
Was this the Song of the Year when it came out, or?
Yeah, it was a song of the year, and it was also it was a wedding song of the year. I had more sheet music sold on that song than any song I've ever written.
Well, I'll be.
And people are always coming up to me saying, "Hey, man, we played your song at our wedding." And I always say, well, are you still happy? So,
I get that a lot with divorces. We played this song in our...
Right. It was no accident, me finding you. Someone had a hand in it long before we ever knew. Now I just can't believe you're in my life. Heaven smiling down on me as I look at you tonight. So I tip my hat to the keeper of the stars. He sure knew what he was doing when he joined these two hearts. I hold everything when I hold you in my arms. I've got all I'll ever need, thanks to the keeper of the stars. It was no accident, me finding you. Someone had a hand in it long before we ever knew. Thank you.
Man, I've met a lot of songwriters over the years, and I've got to tell you, I really mean this. You're one of the most soulful gentle and a gentleman persons I've ever met, and I really appreciate you being with us today, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. You ain't too bad yourself.
Thank y'all for being here with us. Can we get him to do just maybe one verse of She Thinks I Still Care, and then we'll just mosey on out here and go get something to eat or something and come back here at 8 o'clock for the show tonight? Would that be good? All right. Dickey, play just, if you will, man, just a little bit of She Thinks I Still Care, even though you played it last night.
Just because I ask a friend about her, and just because I spoke her name somewhere, just because I saw her and went all to pieces, she thinks I still care. Oh, she thinks I still care.
Thank you so much.